But then, when I started going to the gym and I can really do a lot more, like lift weights and do like that, that was a
Hmm.
motivator. But then got sidetracked because I got sick that time, and then the car broke down. I said I can't go back and forth like I used to. So let's try to do most stuff around the house if I can. Walk around a little bit, or go to the mailbox and the post office back, and or sometimes I used to, because like I said, I used to go to the laundromat and just walk up there. But now, my nephew, he comes around. He see if he's off on weekends. He say, "Hey, you want to go to the laundromat?" I said, okay, I'll take a ride. I got nothing to do.
All right. Um, well, he said the first one with Eddie Griffith, Undercover Brother, was hilarious.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you right, George. I am too. I'm like you, KLA. Yeah, I to go back to the gym myself. Doctor recommended. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of look at myself in the mirror and stuff. I got a little. I'm hitting some pounds. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hitting pounds.
You hit a few pounds, brother. If you have look like I have a keg on me.
You had
I'm
a,
doing
a
pretty
cake?
a keg. Yes, I got a. I'm like a walking keg. But
Oh,
it is. The one thing is, yeah, especially when you got nothing to do.
yeah,
You eat out of boredom because sometimes I try not to do that. You know, but
yeah, yeah,
sometimes when there's not much else to do. You're working on something like, I got a couple of interviews coming up. I'm working on some stuff, and then I just finished. What was I talking? I was just doing stuff for the just had a pitch that the Toronto Super Show just finished up. I was just taking some pictures and posting them and sending some to the ladies that I know because
yeah, yeah.
one lady who I shot to, the lovely Mrs. Robin Mays, got her first Olympia qualification. She's qualified both for the main Olympia and the Masters Olympia. So I'll probably talk about that on tomorrow. I'll give a shout out tomorrow on Muscle Talk.
Well, let me show some clips because he's covering Wolverine too. So
Nope, I'm
I
actually okay,
wanna.
thank you. Where the hell are we? I don't know. Looks kind of Mad Maxy. But that would be IP infringement, right? Fucking jokes. Fuck! Were you even listening back there? We don't make it back to that Mr. Paradox, asshole. Everyone I know is gonna die. Not my fucking problem. Was that all you got? Is that what you said when your world went to shit? Come again. Yeah, I heard all about you. How you screwed up everything. You should be thanking me for pulling you out of that bed you shit in. Oh, you backstabbing son of a bitch! Are you ready to be calm now? Rest in pieces, Fox.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
crazy.
seen that. I mean, it was so. I wasn't so moved by it, when I was watching in the theaters, like because I think what made me want to look at that was Gambit. You know how Channing Tatum he
Tatum,
was
yeah,
doing the yeah.
yeah.
So that because they kept showing the clips, and that's what made me watch the movie. But then I'm looking at this shit, I'm like. Man, I don't know. This shit is crazy. It
Yeah.
was a lot of, fruity stuff going in there too. I in the comic books, he's a lot of things.
Well,
He's different, but
uh, here it is. You have someone like Ryan Reynolds playing him, who's kind of like he is Deadpool in his way. Because you remember he was Deadpool when he did the Wolverine Origins movie, but Ryan
right,
Reynolds, you ever know about him? He's that's his thing. He's that
goofy motherfucker.
you can say it like that, and it
Yeah,
really worked. It really worked with this version of because
yeah,
it really worked for him. you know.
yeah,
And you got to do with movies. You have to go a different level. Deadpool when it was originally it was R rated. It was when it was owned by Fox. It was R rated, and now it's part of the MCU. And MCU is usually trying to get to be more adult because if they get more adult, they can bring in characters like Wolverine and other characters that usually be too extreme for their for the line. And it's still have to, like I said, right now they're still on plans of making new getting trying to find who's gonna be the next Wolverine because the X Men supposed to come in another couple of years
Right.
because
Well,
I think.
not,
Mhm.
not to cut you off, but in the movie, what I liked about it, they had different variants of him. Like they had the Wolverine from the Apocalypse. They had the short version of Wolverine. They
But
had Henry Cavill Wolverine. They had yeah, different variants of Wolverine. And so Hugh Jackman, he was the Wolverine that killed his X-Men a bit. Like I think it was by accident or something like that, because it was based on the last Logan flick where Charles Xavier, he he was I think he was poisoned food, and he getting these seizures. He eventually kills the X-Men unintentionally. So it's kind of based on that, from what
mhm,
I know. Yeah. So did
yeah,
you see Logan?
yeah, I seen Logan. That was pretty good. I
Okay.
like Logan.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty good. It it was just the ending how they had the kill off Wolverine, but you know
Yeah.
what? Actually, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I
That was the
mean,
best one.
yeah.
That was
I
the
think
best.
you go right. The worst one was the first one, the
Yeah.
origin. The
Yeah.
Wolverine was pretty good. It was all right,
Yeah. It
but
was all right.
Logan, I think Logan was probably. It's kind of usually this is how it is. Usually the first movie is the best. Then the second movie is pretty good, and then usually the last movie is the one that's like good example of this. Batman Begins. It was pretty good. Now,
I
Dark
thought
Knight,
it was all
Dark
that.
Knight,
To tell you the truth, I ain't
Dark
gonna
Knight. Yeah, yeah, but you got to,
true.
it's origin story of Batman. It's gonna slow down a bit. It's gonna be slow when he starts up. And everybody knows Dark Knight is the best. It is. Now, Dark Knight Rises, it's all right. I liked it. It may not have been as good as Dark Knight, but Dark Knight Rises was pretty good. It was, even though I think one thing was the issue with the Bane thing and everything else, now that, yeah, yeah. But still, that's how it is sometimes. Usually, on the average, the first movie is pretty good. The sequel is all right, and the third movie usually kind of tanks. But this was kind of reversed, where the first movie was ah, the second movie was okay, and the last one was okay. This is pretty good.
I didn't thought the first one was trash. I didn't thought like great neither. But I thought the second one was okay too. The third one was it was the best out of all of them. You know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's rare. Like when you do a sequel, it's rare when the sequel is better than the first. It's often
Yeah.
rare, and
So goofy goofy mother of like Ryan Reynolds, you right. Yeah. Thank you for man. Wolverine was not playing Deadpool. Did you see Wolverine Deadpool Rolando? If you did, you know. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't really thought it was all that, like just watching it. There was some things that was okay, but I don't know, like Marvel, like this last movie with the Thunderbolts, I thought it was all right. I didn't thought it was that bad. It was funny, it had me laughing, and then it had a little dramatic, to it. I like the Sentry scene. I know you've seen the Sentry scene
Yeah, it's
where
been
he
played all
he
over the internet.
yeah. Yeah, that I think that's like the best scene of that shit. Really, like the best scene out of it. But
I
yeah,
prefer to say the
but
best thing is when they killed that version of Taskmaster Master. So it might be if they do bring that is gonna they're gonna try to be they might try to bring back the more comic accurate version if they do bring back the Taskmaster.
yeah, they took the Ghost. She took out Taskmaster in it. They did it to I forgot what they did to. I think they just wanted to give the least character that didn't have any play off. They wanted to kill the least character off, and that Taskmaster was like the number one pick. So
Garbage.
yeah, but I mean, what?
It was a garbage character. They just didn't follow the idea of the
Yeah,
comics.
it was a garbage character. It didn't really have use. Yeah, I did like the Red Guardian. He was funny. He was
Yeah,
hilarious in that
yeah,
shit. He had me
yeah,
laughing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, like I said, I think they're trying to really. You're not gonna ever get back to when they had the first Avenger movies. You're not ever gonna be like that because,
yeah,
as you know, Chris Evans he came back in Wolverine, but he was playing Johnny Storm from the Fox version of Fantastic Four. You know,
right.
and it just he killed off the Fox version of Sabretooth. That was crazy. It just it's hard to get back to what things used to be. Like especially when you do a movie series or a trilogy or you have a franchise because when it came out when the first Avenger movies came out, I think I was in the theater when I saw it. It was really good.
The
You
what?
know, the first Avenger movie. It came
Oh
out in the
yeah,
theater.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was all right. It was
yeah,
decent.
yeah, it's
It
pretty
was
good.
decent. Some
But then,
people didn't like it. There was some people that didn't really thought it was all that,
well,
but
it was more like the people who really were really hardcore comic fans. But most people, what they know about Avengers is maybe from maybe TV shows or maybe some comics, but not really. Not a lot of people are hardcore comic book fans. And then this version was just something different, you
yeah,
know, and it was something I think at the time. I think when it came out, it was around about the time they did the last Batman movie. That was Dark Knight
yeah.
Rises, because that was
Well,
Dark Knight that came out in 2012, and I think so did
yeah.
Avengers. They came out that summer, and Dark Knight Rises came out. Was it that summer too? Yeah.
Let me
So
play
yeah,
something real quick with because something you might find interesting.
You can't stop crime. That's what you never understood. I'm controlling you. You want to rule them by fear. But what do you do with the ones who aren't afraid? I'm doing what you won't. I'm taking them out. Tell me what happened to you. Let me help. It's too late. You had your chance. And I'm just getting started.
Under the Red Hood.
One,
Yeah.
I seen that one. It was decent. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you
like I
see that
said,
one?
no, no. I've seen some clips here and there on YouTube. Never watched the whole movie.
Okay.
It was somewhat all right. It was trying to stay within the region of the original. It was more of a movie series in the comics, where and I think the big question is, I think they want to do something with the Jason Todd characters because that was one of Batman's
You
biggest
should make it
failures.
into a TV series, like I would say.
That'd
It'd
be up
be
to
interesting. It'd
that'd
be
be up
interesting
to
if they could put on Batman in one of the episodes and stuff where he reminiscing about Batman and all that type of stuff.
yeah. One of the mistakes that CW didn't do was they have Superman series, but never
Yeah.
did a Batman series. The Batwoman series was, you know, I never liked it.
The
Especially
Batwoman. Yeah, the
the
bat
Batwoman
the
series, yeah, the Batwoman
yeah,
series, I call it Batgirl, Batwoman, whatever. When they did the whole thing, when they had Wayne Enterprises shut down, abandoned.
yeah.
Here's the thing: Batman Begins, even though Bruce Wayne was gone, Wayne Enterprises still thrive because, truthfully, the Wayne family, like the part Wayne's father said, he said, like, I leave more interested man running the business part. long as the family gets the money, that's good. They, let them do what they want to do. Other than that, and even when Bruce was gone, the business kept going.
Yeah, I didn't really
That was
follow the TV show. Tell you the truth,
I've
not to
seen a few
cut you.
episodes. I just and then it
Yeah,
just was. And then one thing that made it connected more to the Batman series was you missing characters like Commissioner Gordon. You were missing Alfred, the other members of the Bat family, and also some of the villains. You need Joker. You
yeah,
could have still had someone like Harley Quinn pop in. You could have had someone like the Penguin around. Whittler. Some not too many of the
yeah,
heavy hitters like Joker, Bane, Killer
yeah,
Croc.
yeah,
You need to meet the heavy hitters. Penguin, he could have been running a bar or a club, something like that. You need Poison Ivy. He could have had some others. There's also characters like I think they had Mr. Pig and Professor Pig and the Frog guy. I think he did have Professor Pig on there. But yeah, you could have
yeah.
done it like that and still have like a way.
Are you
You know,
talking about the Batwoman series, or
yeah, yeah.
you
So like,
don't?
they just
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they
Because you're
create some
saying
new
a lot.
villains.
That's why I'm trying to like follow what you're saying, but you saying a lot.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
yeah.
asking.
Because you needed those characters, especially like characters like Commissioner Gordon or also Alfred, those grounded characters that grounded Batman. And
Yeah,
and again, you know, you made like everything was abandoned. Where you could say Alpha could have stayed at the Wayne Manor, and so Mistress Yaya, I hadn't seen you since you were a child, you know. I mean, it was just I don't think it was just a you know bad idea. People wanted a Batman series. Now
it's
you hadn't been a Batman series since I hate to say it.
oh yeah,
The
it said
reboot.
that what you call it, Gotham. Yeah,
Yeah, Gotham. That was pretty
I
good. I
didn't
like
really
Gotham.
watch it like that. I didn't really
I
watch. I
watched
seen
it. I
some
watched it.
clips. Yo, you liked it?
Yes, I liked it. It was pretty good. I liked that.
Oh, okay,
That was a good Batman series. And I
okay.
think, and it was funny that CW would have a series about a Batman character, but don't you have Superman?
Well, they
You know,
like years ago they had the Birds of Prey, and it was way off.
yeah, it
That
was,
was a deviation from the comic book. So
yeah, because really, he was like I think an Elseworld character. Because the fact was, it's supposed to be I think the Hunter is supposed to be the daughter of Batman and Catwoman, and you
yeah,
had
and
it's
that
just
series, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Let me read this with Rolando. Oh, you talking about my girl Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson? Yeah, I may get her 1/3 sideshow Hot Toys figure. I want to collect Marvel Comics characters they looked at on like actors' counterparts. Then he also say Red. Okay. Then he says the Batman Woman series, the upset butch cut actress Ruby Rose. I couldn't stand that CW series of Batwoman.
and funny
Yeah,
thing about Ruby Rose, guys love even though she's a lesbian. The guys love her because she's very
yeah, they liked
attractive.
her. That's why
Remember,
they
she
was
was
really into her.
also she was the
But
second
wasn't there
John Wick
a black
movie.
chick too? That's Batwoman.
Yeah, they replaced her because
Yeah, I
Ruby
remember her.
got Ruby got injured or something. She said she was leaving the series, and that was one thing that messed it up. They could have just either ended the series with her, or just brought in maybe Dick Grayson's Nightwing or something, or and he take up the Batman mantle. They could have done that instead of just getting this all new character who's just it was a mess. It
Yeah.
was a mess. It was a mess.
For somebody
But
who don't read comic books now, you know a lot of stuff. You got a lot to say about these TV shows.
like I said, never said I don't read comic books. I hadn't read them a long time. I mean, I got
It's the same
collections.
thing.
Yeah, I have collections. I still, like I said, still falls in sites that do stories on, talk about comics like that. I'm still fan. Just don't, like I said, I don't know.
I
It's
doubt if you ever been to a comic book convention.
no, I've never been. I,
Okay.
you know. Yeah,
I've been to
like I said,
one. So
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I most time I was working, I never had a lot of time to go traveling here. But this is why I said this trip coming
damn,
up.
you ain't had a life when you even was working.
I was working. I was working. It was about like
Damn.
I know sometimes my sister would ask me if I wanted to go
Stress
on
yourself
a
out doing them two jobs. Oh my god,
yeah.
man! I'm trying to get. I'm like, damn. It's like me and you will be like the opposite. Like I got one job. I'm trying to get one job, but we got enough money. But then you had two jobs, and then you was going through all this crazy stuff that you was going through.
Well, at one
So
point, like I said, I had two jobs. My first job was working at a gas station when I was 16. Kept that. Was on and off that job for maybe about 15 years. So that store closed down. And I was
yeah.
working at the gas. I was also working at the. I got my first real job at the textile place. I worked there for 13 years on and off, and now they're
Okay.
closed down. Then when I was working strip club, and I was still working at the textile place when I working strip club, and then you know, I got fired for strip club one time, and
You
then
got fired from the strip
yeah,
club?
yeah, it
Oh,
was some guy came in with a gun and getting pat him down. It was either he, it was he.
oh,
I
you
don't remember which.
slipping, George? You was
No,
slipping,
no,
man. You was
I was
getting
not
too
trained.
comfortable with them.
Well, what is I was not as trained as that. I mostly worked. I didn't. They started
Oh,
training the door, but I was just not as trained as them. They just kind of
yeah,
taught me a little stuff here and there,
right.
And I don't know. It could have passed me. It could have passed the other guy. I can't say, but because
Oh, he.
I was the lowest guy on the totem pole, I got the button of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least he
Like I
ain't
said,
use it on nobody, right?
where he shot in the club.
Oh, word.
That's why.
Damn,
Yeah.
George. God damn. I thought I was trying to get you off the hook.
Yeah. But the
I
thing is,
was trying to get you off the hook,
stuff like
man.
that, you need to be. Here's the thing about that. For stuff like that, for security stuff like that, you need to be thoroughly trained. They just taught me just to the pat down with it. I wasn't get comfortable with it, but I did the best. I did the best I
Yeah,
could.
I got
But
you.
like,
I got you.
but
What it, like
that's
the guys that train you? What not to? What they they were cops or
no,
what was
wasn't
their
cop.
background?
None of them. I don't think. Maybe one guy I know, Leon, might have been a cop, but the rest
Yeah.
of them, no, no, no. I know,
Oh, they
no,
had
no,
like bodyguard backgrounds more.
not really bodyguard backgrounds, not like that.
Uh,
This is not no Dalton from Roadhouse kind of. Most of these they worked there for so long and they got used to it. I was only there maybe a year or so, barely.
yeah,
Not even the first time I was there, barely maybe a year or so.
yeah.
And I got on because the guy who said how I got in that club because one night I was there, just there
Mm-hmm.
chilling with some
Yeah.
friends, and these girls came, and one of the girls I worked with her mother, I went to school with her brother, and I worked with I worked with her mother, her aunt, her grandma, and I went to school with her uncle.
Okay.
And she came through. She with a bunch of girls. Situation happened. Was like she got an argument with one of the dancers because there's a little VIP room. So the guy was trying to put her in the VIP room, and then she ain't supposed to go in there. Say, hey, you can't go in there because this how they get money out. And I just calmed her down, and then her friends left. The guy who his name was Horace, rest in peace of Horace. He was a pain in the ass, but he was still a cool guy. And he knew me
Yeah.
as a regular customer. He talked to me. He said his boss came to me maybe about a few weeks later. I was just there chilling. He said, "Hey, you need a job? And what
Mm-hmm.
you do?" I said, "Well, I work at Sophie." He said, "Well, you off at night?" So yeah, And I used to ride with the guy Melvin. He used to work with me at the plant. Also was a DJ there, and worked there for a good while until that situation happened, and I got fired. And then I was working for a good bit. Then I had got my first heart attack, and then I was put out of work for a while. Then I quit. Mom got sick, and then my nephew went there one night, and the guy, his name was Buck. He worked the door. Pretty cool guy, Buck. And he said, "Hey, aren't you George's nephew?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, if you see your uncle, what's he doing now?" He says, "Oh, nothing. He's looking for work. He's trying to, he's taking our grandma." He said, "Okay, so tell him if he ain't nothing to do, might need somebody to help around at night." So I got hired back
Mm.
on. I did that for at least about good 2 or 3 years to the
It's
club
close
closed
now.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the story was I think they lost their liquor license. I came to work one night and then the doors were locked and I called the cook and say, hey, well, man, what's going on? I say, well, we'll let you know something, George. Some stuff is going down. So okay, and then come I ran some people say, hey, George, uh, they didn't update the liquor license, so and just and
Well,
anyway,
black people. You.
yeah. Anyway, I think the owner he was kind of getting out of
I
it because
say, boy,
it
black
was
people.
yeah it wasn't that popping anymore like it used to be because
Yeah.
yeah it was just I think it was like really
Yeah.
its heyday was like in the early 2000s when you had a lot of dope boys and stuff around and but then everybody got busted and a
Yeah.
lot of people lost their money and yada yada it just wasn't the same anymore
Mm.
some nights where be so slow like like sometimes I would just if I was off like certain nights like when I was still working at my main job and sometimes if I'm off for the week like we shut down for the week or something I just I just go and hey what y'all doing say singing nothing and we chill sometimes weeknights sometimes sitting there some other girls say hey what you doing just sitting here chilling and talking and get some lap dances and have some fun but other than that just some couple times I ran into some girls a while back asked me, man, yeah, what you been doing? I said, I'm just been living my life. How you been doing? I've been doing fine. This one
Mm.
girl, her name is Angel. We call her Apple Bottom. She used to give me a ride to work sometimes when my other car broke down one time. She was real nice, real cool. I know a while back she got divorced because
Um,
her husband met her in the club and they were together for a good while. Then I heard they got divorced now. I think she was another guy now. I hadn't talked to her in a long time.
mm. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah.
So
So you.
I may have
Yep.
not have traveled, but I've done some stuff.
Yeah. I'm not mad at you. I mean, yeah, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yo, you got any announcements